So, Velma, the main point, really, what it comes down to when it comes down to YouTube and the other platforms is in when we're looking at drawing the enactment in, which the law facilitates for the use of the enactment throughout the legislation, particularly when it comes down to either publishing materials or notices or anything like that, which is political class. We've got these two distinctions, which is prosecutions and commitments. They make two distinctions. Prosecutions is actions resulting from something that you only get prosecuted if you break the law. So it removes the legal consequences. So you are not being, you're not being held liable for breaking the law, which means that, you don't suffer any legal consequences. So if you don't suffer any legal consequences, you could define it still as illegal, but you don't suffer any legal consequences. But then we've got, like the police, for example, it gets codified into the particular acts and it says that, under these set of circumstances, it shall not be illegal. So therefore, you've got, instances throughout the legislation where, because of, this set of circumstances and because it's for this purpose and because you're a certain person or whatever, you shall not, it's not an offence. So, you're not breaking the law if you're, special reasons, basically. But with the commitments, that's a different aspect because, it's not necessarily unlawful. Why commitments, Now, does that word, sometimes they use that word in reference to when you've been committed, you've been sent down, you've been committed, you've been sentenced, you've been prosecuted and there's an order being made, you've been committed, you could be committed to a mental institute or something. So does it mean the orders that the justices have made or the government have made? You see, all enactments, all legislation is, it effectively, going up through the hierarchy of courts, all the way from, the county courts and the magistrates' courts up to the Palace of Westminster, when they make a law and it gets royal assent, they pass a bill, they are making an order. Effectively, that is an order. But it's not like in a court, when you get in a court, you get a sentence, right? This is the order. You, this person, now have to, pay this fine or do this or do that. We're making an order against you. But in the Palace of Westminster, when they pass a bill or enactment, they are making a commitment that shall apply to everyone. Yeah? So like no one in this whole country shall, smoke cigarettes, or no one in this country shall, whatever, punch anyone in the face. Right? That's everyone. That's what making a commitment, making an order is at the highest level. And then, so everyone's supposed to abide by that. And if they don't, there will be consequences on individuals, orders on individuals, right? Now, if you don't abide by these wider orders to the whole nation, then we're going to give sanctions, orders against you as a person. Like, now, you will have to do this, community service, or you will have to have a tag on your leg. You're not allowed out after this time on a night or whatever. So it's all commitments. Now, the thing is, on the subject of YouTube, why? What is the point in having policies? Why have policies? We've already got the laws. So, everyone in the country has to abide by the law. The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the executives, the company owners. The law is the law, and we all have to comply with it, right? So, the first point of having a policy is to, when you join a club or when you, go into a shop or when you use services, usually the whole point of the policy in the first place, as we know, is to, tell you the law and remind you of your rights, when you're in this club, but we should all know and apply the law anyway. But the thing is, if you're in a private club, then, you don't really need to discuss or know about, legislation and legalities for club membership. All registered businesses and companies have their own law for registered businesses and companies. They've got legal obligations for customers, clients, and so forth. In the policy, it usually tells the clients, what the policies are. We will do this, we will do that. Usually because they have to legally. That's the whole point. What happens with YouTube when they're setting out policies that aren't things that are necessarily illegal. But the whole point of the policy is, to set out your rights. They've got the certain things that they've got to provide certain things. They have to, if you're in a supermarket, and if you fall over, you've got medical rights. They can't withhold access to an ambulance and things like that. They've got to allow you the rights, while you're in the shop, certain rights, medical rights, and so forth. It's not just things that you can't do, it's things that, they've actually got to do. So when YouTube have got these policies, what's the point in them? Now, when they start writing out policies that aren't necessarily the law, it's not a legal requirement, then that is when we get into difficulties because, no one's breaking the law, but they're trying to say, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Right? It's just their rules. Now, that's where we run into problems. But why would they do that? Well, there are only two reasons, Firstly, like I say, legal reasons, and another reason just because they don't want you to do it. Now, just because they don't want you to do it, what happens if they said, we don't want you to have access, we don't want to allow doctors in here if you hurt yourself? They can't do that. They're not allowed to do that. Why? Because it's a fundamental right. They can't take it away from you because then they will be breaking the law. Now, the question is, when you've got your political rights, you've got the certain right to do these things, can they take those away? Now, they say that in the policy, they say that we will abide by the laws, whatever country is, and they will apply them. Now, the issue is when those laws are in contradiction to their policies, but their policies are usually there to enforce the law. It's only when their policies go against the law or in contradiction to the law when you run into problems. Now, if we dissect their policies, right, and see what's going on with their policies, what you find is that for things like community strikes, when they don't want certain material, whether it's, they don't want sexual content or they don't want, abusive content. It goes up in severity, but in legal severity, the most serious strikes they've got, the more serious strikes are actually the ones that are illegal. So, harmful or dangerous acts and so forth. The majority of those acts are actually illegal, because if it's dangerous or harmful, you're likely committing an offence. Like, if you're beating someone around the head with a baseball bat, that's assault, harmful or dangerous. So when you actually look at their policies, they've got some policies that aren't actually illegal and they're wanting you to not do certain things that actually you have got illegal. Otherwise, other than the policy, you will be allowed to do it. But their more serious policies are uniform with the law. So it does really seem that the policies really are there mainly for what is legal and not lawful. Now, the fact is that YouTube is a worldwide platform. And some countries like, the Middle East, Asia, Persia and places like that, they're a bit funny with sexuality. They've got religious beliefs and so forth where they cover women up and so forth. And because the platform is usually multi-access or all access, they're kind of really trying to sort of do some sort of middle ground, which is compatible, with the majority of, the population. So it kind of like, is a happy balance for everyone. Now, this is when we come into the political rights, though, for the elections. You see, the thing with running ads is you definitely run it in a certain country, like in Britain or in America or whatever. And in England, the laws are different to, in the Middle East. So if you're only running those ads in that country, then it's all right, okay? But if you've got a channel and it's, that channel's viewable all around the world, then this is when you get into problems, maybe if you've got, even if it's mild sexual content or something other than like, they allow those AMSR videos and things like that. Even if it's political, they might not, want it on your channel because there could be people from around the world viewing it, and in their country it may or may not be appropriate or whatever. That's the main reason. But other than that, it really is more for legal reasons, although I do think that we're getting to a stage now where, you've got Biden doesn't want RFK to be able to speak. He's trying to censor him, and then some of these banks apparently have been allegedly closing people's bank accounts down because of their political opinion, and all this is now questionable. Are YouTube's policies really something that Google and Alphabet want? Just, it's legal, are these things legal, but they're just saying, oh, we don't really want you to do them? Are they allowed to say that if you've got political freedom of expression and political rights, particularly if you are publishing something that's required to be published legally in your country, like, sign this petition, I've got to collect X number of signatures, it's a legal requirement, or can witnesses come forward for this investigation, you got a legal obligation to do it, or a legal requirement to do it. Things like that. And if you're running an election campaign to get elected, and if you want to, use whatever creativity, freedom of expression you want, then you make use of this enactment we're looking at here, which means you're not liable to be prosecuted. You're kind of making use of it. You make use of it more, though, if it's something like, if you're wanting to get the animal rights laws changed. That is it's the most simplest example of where we run into issues, because, if you're wanting to get animal rights laws changed, and if you're wanting to get something, legalized or alternatively made illegal, which concerns cruelty to animals or animal welfare, then you're looking at, acts that may be harmful or dangerous. And, do people really want to see those? Well, in order to compel people that, you want to get the law changed, or you might even want to make something legal, whichever way you want to go, this is why you've got the legal right to do it, because you need to be able to show pictures of the things that you're asking people to either make legal or make illegal, right? So that is the hot spot of issues we've got when it comes to YouTube policy. Now, what YouTube is saying is that, we will apply and comply with the laws of a particular country. Well, the laws of the particular country, which we've got here, the enactment that comes into use, that is codified into the law for use, this legislation says that, Class F materials can use that enactment, so you're not liable to be prosecuted. For example, when you're using certain adverts, if it's that class, so you're not breaking, you're not punished for breaking the law. You're not liable to be prosecuted for breaking the law or held to any commitments. So does that mean that it is illegal or not? Well, it's not illegal for you, particularly when the Act says that if you're using this certain class, then you can do it. So it actually is not by the codified legislation. It actually isn't illegal. So when YouTube say, you can do by whatever laws you can in your country, just as long as it's legal. Well, on in these special circumstances, it is legal. Now, they're saying that you can do it, but they might have other policies other than that political rights and law for each country that, we don't allow serious or dangerous acts. So in a way, they're contradicting themselves. Now, where the niche is that they're saying that those laws and rights apply all across the platform. But through ads, when you're using ads, you run it in a certain country like England or America, it likely won't run. If you're doing an election campaign under political rights, you fill the disclaimer in and you're running it in England, right? So that's where I think that the issue is. If I've got a channel and it's viewable by all countries and I upload some content, then it might be legal in my country and it might be legal in America, but it might not be legal in Persia. And as my channel's running, the people in Persia might be able to view it. So it might not go down well if it's, got mild sexual content or something. I don't know if you do a political parody or some comedy thing to promote your campaign that, make use of this legislation. But you don't really need to use this legislation. The thing is, right, with, like, for example, a sexual policy, sexual material is not illegal. And you can also set your videos to be over 18, right? So you're actually shielding it from young people anyway, underage people. So their policy is kind of, it's awkward. It's in contradiction to what the law is and your rights are. But they are saying that the rights and the laws apply not only through ads, but on the platform. But on the platform, they've got these policies. But clearly, in ads, the ads say that you can run the ads in a country. So, in a way, if you select that political rights, if you select the political rights option when you're running an ad through ads, it basically, you run it in your country, therefore you're removing the other countries. But the thing is, sexual or mild sexual content is not illegal anyway in England, particularly if you've got, like, it set for a certain age. It's not legal anyway, which is ridiculous to have, the YouTube policy. But the thing is, because you're using this enactment when you can't be prosecuted, even if it was illegal, then you can even probably, if you wanted to, if you're doing a political campaign against, sexual abuse, then not only can you put sexual content, but you can put sexual content which might even be harmful. And now that is against the most serious policy on YouTube, but it's actually not illegal. It's not against the law. So can you do it or not? Well, according to the policy, it says what's legal. Well, it's legal for you to do it, And if you're selecting your country and removing the other countries, then, this is it. So the question is, when it comes down to the channels, which aren't ads, well, they're not run through the ads portal, but they're uploaded to your own channel, and your own channel and the platform is the same platform that they're running ads on. In fact, they're even running ads within your videos, ironically. So, but they're only, the thing is that ads are getting only shown to certain areas, countries, or people. So that there is kind of like a bit of a overlap. But the thing is that we have got the right, and the thing is that they can't take those political rights away from you. I don't think that really their policy, when they're saying that they can, they can't take away the medical rights. They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to take medical rights away, for example, and really they're not allowed to take the political rights away because then they would be holding you to a commitment. You would be agreeing to commitments that the platform's placing on you that would restrict what you can and can't do. But this law in this right says that it's illegal to be held to any commitments. So really, it's not lawful for the platform to take those rights away, just the same as it's not lawful for them to take medical rights away, or else, but you might say, how can medical rights apply on a platform? Well, it's hypothetical, isn't it? I mean, well, you could use medical rights on a platform because you might need to use communication through the platform. For example, I don't know, if someone in a video is injured, if it's live, for example, you might need to use communication through the platform to get the attention of, the police or of YouTube or someone else, and there's a right to issue a medical request for assistance for a person who's injured. Like, for example, if it's a live video, that's one example of medical rights. They can't take that right away. So if someone was having a live video and they actually were injured and they were crying for help and you had to alert someone, you've got a right to raise the alarm to YouTube or raise the alarm, to someone to communicate to get the medical assistance. They're not allowed to take that right away. That's just an example how the platform cannot, certain things they can't take away, they can't stop you from doing, like, medical rights, and that's why I'm saying that, the political rights apply. It is awkward it being a private platform and not being under public ownership, and then all the policies would be exactly identical to what the laws are. But I think on the whole part, they are exactly similar to the laws, and they're there for that purpose. I just think that there are a few things that YouTube are trying to impose on people that really, it's just their own personal view or opinion. It's our platform. We kind of don't really want people doing this or that, but there's not really a law preventing them. The difference is that with this particular right here, this right, if you actually understand what this right is, this right is not inventing petition. This right does not invent the procedure of bringing cases to Parliament, because that existed well before. If you look at that 1661 Act, the Tumultuous Petitioning Act, people were doing petitioning. And even before that act was invented, it says people were doing petitioning. So what we're looking at here, we're not creating a right that allows you to petition. It's actually not that. And if you misconstrue it as an enactment that is creating or facilitating your right merely to petition, then you're wrong. What this law in 1688 is doing is it's creating the immunity for doing it. It's our right to petition the government, and all prosecutions against you, legal consequences and commitments that anyone would hold you to by, are unlawful by the other party. So it's not inventing petitioning, and it's not saying that you're allowed to do it. What it's doing is it's saying no one may intervene or bring legal charges against you. And that includes, but what does that cover? Well, it covers you for all the things that are required for that function, which includes all of the material that you need to promote it. And for example, if there's an investigative part of it, if you need to obtain evidence to prove facts to the government or substantiate why the law should be changed or not, or if you want an inquiry, evidence to substantiate the inquiry, getting the signatures from the public, the evidence of public concern. Those are the proceedings, those are the that is what petitioning is. Giving out notices and collecting evidence of public concern, and drafting a case to the government, which needs facts. You need to obtain facts. It is casework. It's casework, not to a criminal court, not to a civil court, to the Palace of Westminster or to the White House. It is proceedings casework, and you've got your preliminary casework, and then when you hand it in, then it gets debated. What are the things that you're doing before you hand it in? Similar to what the police are doing before a criminal case goes into a court. All the things that the police do before it even gets to a court. You've got to do these things before you get it debated in the Parliament. You've got to get the signatures and you've got to get your facts. So effectively, it is you are engaging with government process, and that is why you've got this 5013C, illegal campaign intervention and so forth. And YouTube have to recognise that and apply it. That's how I think it works, and that's how I think that it's provided for and facilitated through all the enactments. YouTube policies cannot take away legal right, because that's just how the country's set up. If you're not engaging in the political process, then you're not using an exclusive right, which allows you special reasons in law for you to be able to do things that other people can't usually do. That's the difference, I think. So, so when it comes to the channel, when you've got a channel and you're uploading videos, and if you're getting strikes, but yet people who run ads might be publishing the ads and they're not getting strikes, it's not my problem that, or our problem that if YouTube don't have, settings for different countries and so forth. In fact, I've recently seen a logo in the top corner that says YouTube Great Britain, GB. So that they may have different settings for different countries, which are showing, or I know China have got certain laws where, certain content is censored in China. That's where I am with it. I don't think that they can take the right away, because this says that you can't be held to any commitments, and if you can't be held to any commitments, by the courts and the law, then surely just a policy. It's not even law, the policy. So it's less. What is the enforceable jurisdiction? I mean, if you look at these private parking tickets that people are giving out that you don't really have to pay on private land, if you park on private land, they're giving out these parking tickets, but they're not issued by the government, and there's no legal obligation to pay it. There's some barristers giving free advice on that. It's almost like that situation, because YouTube is saying, we're not allowing this or that, but what legislation is there to back it up? Well, the policy is only by your agreement, but they can't make you agree to do something that they can't legally do, because they're legally saying, if you join our platform, then you'll have to relinquish your political rights. Well, they can't do that. It's illegal. It's illegal for them to relinquish your political rights, because they're trying to make you agree to a commitment of their policy, which, and that is why you're allowed to have, these unions. You've got these workers' unions in factories and so forth. When they're trying to get rid of that. I think that's really where we are with it. And if you can understand that, then it's just a matter of, we've already covered a lot of the legislation in the previous gigs. And I think that the best example is this, Town and Country Planning Acts with the different classes of materials, advertisements, because they are the same that the ASA, the Advertising Standards Agency, enforce in print when you're using printed materials out and about and around and in the newspapers. And that's what you're doing when you're publishing and printing. Digital media is publishing. You're publishing to the internet, So that's it, really. And when you click on it, it takes you to the ASA, Advertising Standards Agency. But when I'm making videos on my channel and I'm uploading them to advertise my political campaign, it's advertising, it's ASA, and ASA says you're exempt. So, if ASA, if you're on YouTube and, you go to the ASA about political rights, they say, we don't cover it. Why? Because it's exempt. Well, if it's exempt having political ads, when you're running it through the ads portal, then, those ads are showing in your own videos sometimes, when people run ads, monetized, it's showing all these different ads from different people in your own video on the same platform, on the same screen. Surely it can't not be the same rights. I think that's, if you can understand that, then, it's just a matter of getting on the legislation right and getting it set out in the correct format to challenge it, really.